People who become great tend to do things differently. People who become great tend to do things differently. What does that mean? What does it mean? How do you know what to do differently to become great? I'm in San Francisco as a psychologist, as you may know now, and I work with a whole range of clients and patients that have struggles and ambitions. I work with companies who want to align their employees and themselves with the purpose of what they're trying to do to perform at their best. I work with great athletes, right? And what I generally do to work with people, in addition to the psychology work, is brain training, mind exercise, using what science knows now about how we can make intentional and strategic changes to our brains using mind exercise to perform at our best. Brain training, mind exercise is in the same place, same kind of thing as strength training was in the 80s, right? We know it works, the science is in, the stories are in, we see it working over and over. People are beginning to do it 5 to 10 years from now. If you haven't been doing it, you won't be competing at the highest levels of whatever domain it is. And that includes business and performance and sports and in the rest of your life. This stuff works because it changes your brain as you do it. And I'll talk more about the brain science behind it as I go a little bit here. But I would like to give you a couple examples of this in action so you can really understand where I'm coming from with it, okay? I'm going to read you a quote, and I want you to try to guess for me who said this, okay? I was blown away when I read this the first time. I knew what I wanted to do at the age of 13 years old. Everything has a purpose in life. Every man has a purpose. It's the knowing of that purpose which enables every soul to fulfill it. He who knows his life purpose, then he knows exactly where he's going. Any guesses? The greatest sportsman of all time, Muhammad Ali, said that. If you don't know anything about Muhammad Ali, check out a documentary. There's one called I Am Ali that gives you his whole background, and you'll realize this guy wasn't just a boxer. This guy was greatness. Even it wasn't if he didn't have the boxing gloves, he would have been great in some other way. And why is that? What is he saying to us there? There's purpose associated with greatness, right? One more quote is going to bring this home for you. Guess who said this about Muhammad Ali? He's always been different. He knew he was born for greatness. Muhammad Ali's older brother said that about him. His older brother somehow sensed that this guy, his brother, knew he was born for greatness. He saw something different about him. And what he saw, the point I'm wanting to make to you for you to understand, the reason that this brain training mind exercise works is because when it's associated with greatness, being able to listen to yourself and hear what's going on inside you, which is a component of mind exercise, is intrinsically linked to greatness because it shows you what you personally need to do differently, both in your inner life, and I'll talk a little more about that, and also in practicing. What do you need to do differently in order to perform at your best, in order to prepare for greatness? In Ali's words, in order to be your purpose in life, to become your purpose, right? Ali, you might say, was born in a way with this. But I'm telling you, he wasn't born with it. And if he was born with it, what he was born with was a sensitivity to be able to hear himself in a way that he knew what he needed to do differently. And then he went and did things differently, and he became his greatness. And you see this over and over in examples. My favorite one is Einstein, 1905, okay? Greatest scientific theory of the 20th century, proposed by Albert Einstein, the theory of relativity. It wasn't for 10 to 15 years after he first proposed the theory that the mathematics and the science and the outer world context was in place for the theory of relativity to be tested and proven accurate. And in those intervening 10 years, Einstein's position was, it's right, don't worry about it, the scientists are working out the math. Think about that. This is the biggest scientific discovery of the 20th century. And science wasn't behind discovering it. What was behind discovering it? was a guy who had the training, had the knowledge, knew enough about his domain, but was sensitive enough to listen to what was going on, to intuit the truth. And sure enough, 10, 15 years later, he's validated, right? The theory is right. And I'm telling you, it's because greatness comes from knowing what to do differently, because you can listen to yourself in a unique way. And that's what this mind exercise, that's what this brain training does for you. Most people who teach this, who will show you this, most places you'll learn this, are not completely understanding that the foundation skill here is to be able to quiet yourself down and listen and hear yourself. Think of even a guy like Federer, right? 2004, best year to date of his tennis career. He went 74-6. Before the season, Federer got rid of all coaches. He didn't have a coach for the season when he performed at his best to date. He listened to himself, he heard what he needed to do, he made decisions, he made changes, he realized his greatness. Does that mean get rid of your tennis coaches in order to perform great? No. What it means is you need to be able to listen to yourself to know what's right for you. Andre Agassi, look at that example. He hired new coaches in order to get back to #1. Totally different approach, but it was right for him. It was his way to achieve his greatness. Okay, enough examples. So how do we do this? How do you mind exercise? How does this work? After we're done, I'm going to shoot you an email with a link in it to a 20-minute video. It will show you how to teach yourself. It will walk you through for 20 minutes different ways of listening to yourself. It's called the daily ritual. If you do it each day, you will increase your sensitivity, your ability to listen to yourself in different ways. And you will be teaching yourself, because learning this, changing the cells in your brain in the way that you want to, requires repetition. So if you do it, the more you do it, the better you'll become at it. You'll teach yourself. And as you go through it, you'll see the fundamental practice here is learning to quiet down your inner world. The inner world, I call it the inner world, the inside your brain and your body is your inner world. Your outer world's outside your brain and your body. So you quiet down your inner world so that you can listen, you can increase your sensitivity. You will go through the process of doing this on a regular basis, and what the brain science tells us is that whatever you're imagining each moment, whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're processing internally, is changing your brain literally, physically, physiologically, right? It's recruiting more brain cells to feel, experience, and then express, because this is a repetitive process, right? These brain networks are repetitive, the way that they work. Whatever you're currently experiencing, right? So whatever you're currently experiencing, you are training your brain to perform again, right? In that way in the future. So this is an incredibly powerful process. However, here's the rub. What I've discovered with working with patients with this over the course of years is that the correlation between being really intelligent, like you guys are, and discovering this for yourself, you know, coming across it and understanding how it works, being able to quiet yourself down, listen, actually doing it, making the discipline to do it so that you can see the patterns that are occurring inside you, the arising impulses, the arising thoughts, the emotions, the internally maintained relationships that you have, the instincts, the sensations. When you can distinguish between all those, right, you can begin to understand what are the patterns that are occurring inside me and how do they impact my movement towards my greatness, towards my personal goal, right? Once you can do that, the sky is really the limit. Once you have that sensitivity to be able to listen, you can really begin to direct your life in the way that you want to, okay? Let's think of this for a second. You have Ali, you got Einstein, you got Federer. These guys, in the context of what I just told you about the brain science, think about these guys who have been doing for their whole life. They've been going inside and listening. Whether they knew it or not, they had the skill set of listening, adjusting, changing their brain to come into perfect sync with their greatness, with their life purpose, with their full capability, with their personal goal, right? Think about how much their brain would have changed in that time if they'd done that habitually throughout their life. And then think about the Agassi example, right? Came up on his talent, was able, because of incredible talent, was able to get to #1 in the world, do what his coaches, he wanted to do. But if you read what he says about it, he didn't feel greatness at that time. He didn't feel he was living his purpose. It wasn't until he learned how to go inside, listen, hear what he needed to do differently, and then actually went and did it, hired coaches, and pursued it in the way that was personally right for him, that he became number one again and fully achieved his greatness. And I'm not talking about just on a tennis court here, right? This guy has become one of the greats of all time. He's become a true ambassador of the sport because he learned to listen. To fully achieve your greatness, you need to prepare for greatness. You need to be able to listen to yourself, okay? Now, if what I've told you is not enough for you to motivate you to get going with this stuff, think about this. 5 years from now, whoever you're competing against will have been training their brain for 5 years. Eventually, you will not be able to compete on the level you want to compete if you're not doing this. So that's one way to think about it. I think actually a better way to motivate yourself with this stuff is to recognize that all the work you put into this will pay off 1,000-fold in every area of your life, right? Not just tennis, not just in the classroom. Your emotional life, your connection with other people, your ability to know yourself, your spiritual life, right? All of this stuff. I can tell you, in the 20 years since I've sat where you guys are sitting now, the best feeling, the most powerful feeling that I've had is coming to know, to realize and know that I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing with my life. Okay, that's what I call being your purpose, what Ali refers to as living out life purpose. That's a powerful thing. How do you get there? You have to know yourself. You need to be able to listen to yourself in order to become what you're meant to become. Okay, I want to leave you with one quote that has been very powerful to me. It's a poet, Austrian poet, Rainer Marie Rilke, said this in a book called Letters to a Young Poet. If you haven't read it, check it out. It's life-changing. And it says, "Do you recall from your childhood on how very much this life of yours has longed for greatness? I see it now, how from the vantage point of greatness, it longs for even greater greatness. That is why it does not let up being difficult, but that is also why it will not cease to grow." Beautiful. If it hasn't happened to you already, the coolest moments of your life, coolest moments of my life, have come when all I really cared about, all you really want to care about, is becoming yourself, is being yourself. In order to be yourself, you need to know yourself. To know yourself, you need to listen to yourself. So that is how you prepare for greatness. That is how you become your purpose, in the words that I use. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.